Alright guys, I'm super excited to be walking you guys through this next video. In the previous video, I was explaining the importance of having a relationship with Chase. The same goes for Amex. These are one of the top two biggest players that have the best card benefits and give the best business credit card limits. So when it comes to Amex, they have a similar reward systems like Chase, but when it comes to Amex, kind of some secret hacks to notice with them is they only do one hard inquiry. So what I mean by that is once you get approved for one American Express personal credit card, they tend to only do a soft inquiry moving forward. So if you get approved for the first one and you want to apply for two or three later down the line, those two or three later down the line are only going to pull up as a soft inquiry and it's not going to ding your credit. So this is really huge. Now, the reason why we want to prioritize having a relationship with Amex is because, like Chase, they allow for credit limit transfers. The only difference is Chase allows for credit limit transfers between multiple business credit cards. Let's say you have one LLC with a $50K credit limit and that 0% ends, and then you have another LLC with, you get another $50K on that. What you could do is transfer the limit from the first card where the 0% expired and bring it over to the second one. So now you're looking at, if you have 50K here and 50K here, on Chase, you could transfer over 45K from the first LLC over here to the 50. Now that's 95K. But with Amex, they allow you to move credit limits around between personal credit cards and business credit cards. So I'm going to dive more into credit limit transfers in another video. I know it might be a little confusing kind of tracking where it all goes, but I'll go more in depth on that in another video. But the big thing is Amex allows for a unique way of increasing your credit limits by doing credit limit transfers. So there are creative ways to secure large credit limits with them. So without further ado, let's start talking about the different credit cards we want to prioritize with Amex. So I actually kind of touched up on it in a prior video, but I'm going to go through and explain again what those cards are, but go in a little more depth on what the benefits and perks and why you'd actually want to have them. Cool. So let's talk about the Amex credit cards that we're going to want to consider or apply for on the personal side. So before we get into that, just a couple things as a reminder. When you are applying for these cards, you know, Amex is one of those top national banks. So before you apply, to get the best odds of actual approvals and get these high limits, you're going to want to have, you know, a 720 and above credit score. And if you're still just starting building up your credit or working on fixing it up, something that you can do is Amex has something called what's called a charge card. So the difference between a charge card and a normal credit card is with a normal revolving line of credit card, it has a preset spending limit. You know, if they'll give you, 10K or 15K, that's a total credit limit you could get, and they're not going to let you max it out. With charge cards, there is no preset spending limit. So, 1 month they might lend you out 10K, but let's say you max that out, and then that following payment when it's due, you pay it all off, then they'll naturally increase the credit limit as you continue to max it out and keep paying it back on time. They continue letting you increase those credit limits, and you could easily do this for, get a credit limit of over 100K plus multiple six figures moving forward. So this is charge card's really good if you're doing something like e-commerce when you start doing business credit. But the reason why I brought up charge cards is because charge cards are actually easier to get approved for than their normal credit cards. So if your credit isn't exactly where it needs to be, it's not above a 700 or close to the 720s, then you're better off, if you are going to apply with Amex, apply for any of their charge cards. And when you get approved for that, you're going to get a hard inquiry. Moving forward, the cards that you apply for later, it's going to be a soft pull, and you're going to be more likely to get approved moving forward. The other big requirement with Amex is they almost 99% of the times always pull from just experience. So when you do apply for these cards, make sure that bureau is fine. If your TransUnion or Equifax aren't looking so hot, you don't really need to care. You'll still get approved for these ones because they only pull from Experian. So first up on the list is the American Express Blue Cash Everyday Card. This is really awesome because they have no annual fee. You get $200 back after you spend $2,000 in purchases within the 6 months. This card's actually very similar to Chase's Freedom card, Freedom Unlimited, but this is also a cool card too because it has really good benefits. 3% cash back at supermarkets, 3% cash back on retail purchases online, and 3% cash back on gas stations. And this also has a 0% intro APR for 15 months. So this is really cool. If you have 0% on the personal side, you could use this to pay off credit card debt from another bank. If you're not able to pay it off in full, you just do like a balance transfer, pay it off, and bring that interest rate for whatever it is down to 0%. I don't suggest, though, when you're using 0% personal cards, you really don't want to max these cards out because if you max them out, obviously it's going to bring your utilization down, as we spoke before, and we don't want that. But if it's just a little bit, just to kind of save you from having to pay any sort of interest on other personal cards, then you're good to go. Next on the lineup is the American Express Blue Cash Preferred. The annual fee is $95, but for the first year it's waived, so that's pretty cool. You get $250 cash back after the first 3,000 purchases within the first 6 months. And with this card, it's very similar to the everyday cash back, but this is double. You get 6% at supermarkets as opposed to 3%, 6% on streaming subscriptions, and then 3% on public transit. And for this one, this is 0% interest for 12 months as opposed to 15 months like the everyday cash back. So this is really cool as well. So I actually spoke about this card in the high limit personal credit card section, but just to dive a little more deeper into what those actual benefits are, this is a co-branded card with Delta Airlines. So if you like to fly, this is even better because you're going to get a lot of benefits. But one, this card is traditionally giving very high credit limits. It's $0 annual fee for the first year. Then after that, it's $99. And you get 40,000 bonus miles after you spent 2,000 within the first 6 months. So the featured benefits is you save 15% when you book award travel on Delta and Delta Connection Airlines. And then you get your first checked bag free anytime you're flying with them. And then anytime you're using your card, you get 2x miles at restaurants and US supermarkets. Those miles will stack up, and that's what's going to be able to allow you to continue getting free flights using this card. Now, let's look at the rates and fees. Unfortunately, this isn't a 0% card, which is totally fine. For the most part, we're using it for the benefits and getting those high credit limits so we have that high comparable credit. All right, and then the last card on Amex's lineup is the Hilton Honors card. This is really cool because there's not even an annual fee, so it's perfect. You get 80,000 Hilton Honors bonus points after you spend $1,000 within the first 3 months. That's going to make for a very kick-ass vacation. You could completely pay with just points just for signing up. But you're going to get Hilton Honors bonus points at restaurants, Hilton Honors bonus points at US supermarkets, and what's really cool is the complimentary Hilton Honors Silver status. So for anybody, what that means is when you have status with hotels or airlines, you get a lot more benefits and perks. Some of them will even give you free nights, discounted rates, free Wi-Fi, free breakfast, parking, all that stuff. So you get to really travel in style with this card. I know for this one, for the rates and fees, it's a normal interest rate. There's no 0%, but that's fine. Again, we're just using this for the high credit limit and the benefits and perks that come with it. Now, one thing to note is American Express rules and how to kind of navigate applying for their cards. So Amex has a 5 credit card limit. So that means you can't have more than 5 American Express cards open at one time. So choose wisely. You only need 1 or 2 of these, which is fine. Now, the thing is, this does not apply to charge cards. So if you have two of their charge cards, Platinum being one of them, or their, the Plum card, I think the Gold card is also a charge card. If you have any of those, that does not count towards the other normal revolving lines of credit that has a preset spending limit. The other part of that is they have what's called the 1 in 5 rule, which means you can only get approved for one credit card every 5 days. So keep in mind that you'll have to manage the minimum spend requirements, and American Express typically only soft pulls you once you have a card with them once. So you're good with that. The other thing is they have the 2 in 90 rule. Only get approved for 2 credit cards every 90 days. If you try to apply for a third card within that 90-day window, then you're automatically going to get rejected. Doesn't really make too big of a deal because, again, they're just going to do a soft inquiry anyways. But if you try to do it, don't be surprised. That's probably why if you get denied. So apply for as many cards as you'd like. Just be conscious of their different rules that they play by. All right, guys, so that's everything that you need to know about Amex. Let's start applying for some of those cards. You know which cards to go after, what the requirements are, and the different rules that they play by. So get some approvals, and I will see you guys in the next video. Heck yeah. Peace.